Okay, this is the City of Highland Park regular meeting of the Plan and Design Commission, July 15th, 2025, called to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Easton.
Here.
Fatner. Commissioner Nanis.
Here.
Commissioner Henry.
Here.
Commissioner Mantis. Vice Chair Kirsch.
Present.
And Chair Moore.
Present.
We have a quorum, Madam Chair, and I recognize City Council Liaison Yumi Ross and Corporation Counsel Martinez. Thank you.
To our side table. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last special meeting, June 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion from?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Kirsch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nanis. Any discussion on these minutes?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think there's an error on page, sorry, I'm trying to find it right now, page 7 of the minutes,
What is that packet page number at the bottom?
packet page 7,
Okay.
line 17, where it says physical impact slide. I think it should be fiscal impact, and the same on row 20.
Oh, yeah, that's probably fiscal.
Just, yeah.
All right, thank you. With those changes, are the motioner and the seconder in agreement to have those changes made?
I agree. I agree.
Okay, are we voice vote or call the roll?
Voice
I can
vote.
never remember this. Someday, my last day, I'll remember. All right, so the minutes have been motioned upon, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
And we have one abstention. All right, so the minutes still pass.
4-1. 4-0.
With,
0-1.
yes, with the changes that were suggested.
Correct.
All right, so going into scheduled business, my understanding is item A, a design review for variations for a townhouse development at 932 and 942 Deerfield Road. We should motion for a continuation. Is this correct?
Yes, so that's at the request of the applicant to continue that. They are looking to possibly make revisions to their plans, and so they're just not ready to discuss.
Okay, to when would we like to continue this?
Yes, so let me just make sure I read that so I have it correct. To the Tuesday, August 19, regular Plan and Design Commission meeting.
Okay.
Also at 7 p.m., also here at City Hall.
All right,
I move we continue this matter to the August 19th regular meeting.
okay, can I get a second? And we have a second down there with Commissioner Henry. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Okay, so this motion, or this design review for variations for 932 and 942 Deerfield Road is continued to 8/19 at 7 p.m. here. Is there an all notices actual phrase we need to include?
Yes, please know that your notice is actual. There'll be no new notice on this matter. It has been continued to the date certain. Thank you.
Okay. The next item is a final plat of subdivision with variations for 2680 Western Avenue.
Thank you, Chair. Planner 2, Patrick Hoffman will give this presentation.
Okay.
Hello. So, yes, the minor plat of subdivision with a variation at 2680 Western Ave. There we go. Staff recommend the commission consider the request of the minor subdivision with variation and make recommendation to City Council. If appropriate, the commission can adopt the findings of fact and recommending the approval, or recommending approval. So this is the property. It is currently one lot, and the yellow dotted line is showing approximately where they're planning on subdividing the property. There is one home on the property currently, so it is a subdivision to create 2 lots out of the current one. Again, this is kind of the same information I just said. The property is located in the R6 zoning district. The lot widths, both lots conform. The northern lot is 50.75 feet wide, and the southern lot is 54.75. Yeah, 54.75 feet wide. In the R6, all you need is 50 feet. So they are compliant with the bulk regulations of the R6 zoning district. The detached garage here, that is a already non-conforming structure. The subdivision isn't creating that non-conformity, so they don't need a Chapter 150 variation for that non-conforming structure. Here's just the plat of subdivision. It is quite a long lot. It's about 400 feet deep. So they meet the minimum lot area of 7,260 square feet of the R6. And yeah. There is one variation to the subdivision code, the Chapter 151, and that is the established property width average. That is an average of the widths for the entirety of the block. That number is 54.6 feet, so only the northern lot in this proposed subdivision doesn't meet that requirement. It's short about 4 feet. Because of this, they need a variation to the subdivision code. The southern lot meets the average lot width and doesn't require any of the relief. No other city divisions had any objections to this plat of subdivision. There was one comment from ComEd that the applicant is working towards and has submitted a update to their comments. ComEd is now reviewing that, so it's kind of a work in progress, but those were the only comments on this subdivision.
Okay.
This was just kind of the averages of all of the block. There's a couple that are at 70 feet.
Oh, they're kind of skewing it then.
Yeah, just a little bit. Rest of them are hovering around the same width as the proposed lots. So this is just kind of the standard that states that the Plan Commission may recommend to City Council for any variation requests to the subdivision code. And that's all I have. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to help.
All right, any questions by anyone in the commission?
I have.
Vice Chair Kirch has a question.
I just have to ask, was the line drawn specifically so that the new lot meets the average bulk code? Normally, you would just split it in half, right? I mean,
So if you split it in half, I think that it is just short enough that then they would just both be non-conforming. They were,
Need a variance.
yeah, there wasn't a way around getting the variation for the average width. So it was drawing a line, making sure that the existing structure is conforming. It is 6.8 feet away from that property line, so it is conforming with the 150.
Right, and when they drew the proposed line down the middle, right, as Patrick was saying, they had to be aware of drawing that line not too close to the existing house, or that would create a setback nonconformity, which wouldn't be allowed.
thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
It looks like on packet page 16, where it's the plat with the lot line. It looks like the lot line is cutting through like the existing property's retaining wall. Is that?
What was this? What is this document?
It's on packet page 16.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they should address that.
Okay. We will have the applicant address that. Yeah,
They'll
what?
either need to revise the retaining wall or perhaps consider some type of easement, but yeah, that needs to be addressed, so that's an excellent catch.
Thank you.
But there are solutions though, but yes, it still needs to be addressed. If the commission was ready to adopt findings of fact tonight, that could certainly be amended with that specific condition.
Okay. Would the applicant like to speak?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joey Mignani. Hi, Karen. First off, thank you all for taking the time to hear me out today. To answer your question, the retaining wall in question is a landscape timber retaining wall that is just kind of holding up the driveway. It's sticking out of the ground a little bit and it's kind of temporary and rotting. I don't think it's gonna be there much longer as it is anyways. But I can definitely provide more info on that in the future to Patrick if needed. If anybody else has any more questions, please let me know. I'd be glad to answer.
No? All right.
Can I make one more comment about
Yes.
the retaining wall as I sit here and I think about it? Actually, it is kind of interesting because retaining walls are defined in section 150.202. And I'm probably just doing what's called TMI here, too much information, but they're not, they actually don't have a setback requirement. So there are different ways the applicant could resolve this. It's actually not a zoning issue that it goes over, but it does need to be resolved though. So they can either revise it and remove it, or they can do some type of easement. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so we would be looking to adopt the findings of fact. Are those here? Okay. Okay. All right, does someone want to make a motion?
Before we do that,
Oh, sorry.
can we make sure no one from the public has any
Oh, I'm
comment?
so sorry. Does anyone from the public have a question or comment and would like to speak on this matter?
Not right now. We might.
If not, Madam Chair, then I would move that we adopt findings of fact recommending approval of the plat of subdivision with variations for 2680 Western Avenue with the condition that the retaining wall issue be solved. Anyway, to solve to the satisfaction of someone. To the satisfaction of Carl, I guess.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so motion by Vice Chair Kirsch, seconded by Commissioner Imchuk.
Sorry, one more
Sorry.
thing. As the person who's gonna have to draft this, the condition then, as I heard it from Carl, possible resolutions include removal, revision of the retaining wall, and I guess the next step will be to decide or discuss with the applicant which of these various paths will satisfy you, if any.
Right.
Easement was an option.
Right, either removal, and easement technically would be an option, and since they control both properties, they could grant themselves an easement right now
themselves an
to do that. They could also even draw the line around it, though that would bring them back here to
Right.
add that as
do
an
this
additional
again.
subdivision variation.
Right.
But that is an option that they have if they want to come back and redraw the line.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Any more discussion amongst the commission members? All right, Mr. Fontaine, please call the roll.
Commissioner Incheck,
Aye.
Commissioner Nanis,
Aye.
Commissioner Henry,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kirsch,
Aye.
and Chair Moore.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries, and this item is approved, recommended for approval with the condition. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. All righty. The next item is public hearing PUD-2025-00033 for special use permit in the nature of preliminary and final plan development with an amendment to the development agreement, final plat of re-subdivision, design review and variations and modifications from city code as appropriate for the proposed townhomes and condominiums for phase 2 and other improvements at the corner of Laurel Avenue and McGovern Street, including 844 to 768 Laurel Avenue and 1682 to 1652 McGovern Street. This is an existing hearing that we are reopening, so I don't have to read the long sheet.
That's correct. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Okay, my name is Carl Burhop. I'm a senior planner with the City of Highland Park in the Community Development Department and the Planning Division. And so this is a continuation of the public hearing for the Laurel Park Phase 2 development. A lot of these slides are from prior presentations, so I will move through this and just address what's new, so to speak. But of course, if there are questions, please let me know. So as a reminder, there are already 12 townhome units towards the north and the east side of this property, which is essentially kind of the top of this hill. And then what's proposed is to finish this consistent with amendments to what was contemplated back in 2006 when this was originally approved as a development, to also do 18 additional townhome units and then a multifamily building. So the applicant has said is going to be condos, 12 condo units on the bottom of the site. So there are 4 considerations here. The first is an amendment to a plan development. We'll also have to amend the development agreement as appropriate. Design review, the plat of re-subdivision, and then the inclusionary housing plan associated with this. So this last one, June 17th, the commission directed findings of facts, recommending approval, including the packet. Those are available to vote on if appropriate. Staff has 1 recommended condition of approval, and then I also put up a second here. Because the first was in the report. So this gets to the making sure that the affordable units are completed before certain approvals or certain things are issued. So the applicant must commence the multifamily building concurrent with or before the townhome units, and no certificate of occupancy shall be granted until the affordable units are completed. So that was in the packet. And then I alluded to this in the packet as well. So it was a comment in the packet, but here staff are stating that it could also be a condition, just to clarify. And I think it is a clarification that the applicant will have the rooftop screening for the AC mechanical units on the rooftops for the townhomes. The applicant has indicated to me verbally that that is the intention. Just make sure that's clarified. On the site plan, there was an exhibit for it, and it should just be clear on the site plan. There were various things discussed at the last meeting. So again, the public benefit that's in a couple slides. I'll come to it. So the applicant's proposing an open area that will be public access, so there'll have to be an easement for that, and we'll improve it with a pergola and courtyard area. And benches. I have a slide for that. There was concern with fire access. There were townhome units. The plans that have been most recently submitted are acceptable to the city. The city has reviewed them. Concern with the overall street parking. The site as a whole, phase 1 and phase 2 does comply with the current zoning requirements. Questions on the height relief request. The applicant previously, going back to the June 17th meeting, reduced height by 1 foot. I have a couple slides that go over this. And then the AC and mechanical unit locations and screening, which was previously discussed. Now, again, I do not speak for the HOA, but they are in part an applicant to this. And so I just want to remind the commission that the HOA's representative spoke on this last meeting. I had a brief summary in this, but I really, that's just meant to remind the commission, and of course, the HOA's representative will get to speak at this hearing as well as they desire to provide their own comments and to make any changes to my summary as they see fit. Okay, so modifications. So we've talked about this for several meetings in a row. So we'll go over it real quickly one more time. So 2.4 inclusionary units not to be provided for the phase 1 portion. 4.8 are required for phase 2. Those are being provided for on site, and 0.8 incremental in payment in lieu. And so that has been reviewed and recommended by the Housing Commission. I do want to point out that first one is a modification that's needed, but that's not a modification that goes towards the public benefit. Public benefits are triggered by different types of requests and not that. Moving on to additional height relief, more than the approved in 2006. I actually have a further slide. I would like to elaborate on this just a little bit more. The condo building they propose is a maximum of 52 feet in height, and then the townhomes are the 37 feet. And there's a maximum of 35 feet allowed. However, there's more nuance to that, and I would like to just get into that. But that is relief requested. That is more than what was granted in 2006. That does trigger this commission's consideration of the public benefit, that the applicant provide it and the commission consider it and make a recommendation on it. The off-street parking relief, I have two things to say on this. The site as a whole does comply with current zoning. I will point out that the development agreement, the development agreement back from 2006 requires 99 spaces, so the development agreement would have to be amended. The setback relief is already granted in 2006. Lot coverage was granted in 2006, and they've actually reduced the coverage. And then subdivision relief. I have a slide on this that next. The subdivision, I mean, that was proposed from the beginning of this public hearing, so that's not something new. It's just something that I'm making sure is covered before the commission gives any final recommendation. And I'll just point out on the subdivision relief, when this was originally done in 2006, oh shoot, I should have had a slide on this. When this was originally done in 2006, it was like the outlots were done, and then the townhomes for the existing 12 units were done. And then for phase two, it wasn't entirely completed, but it was sectioned off, which is my way of saying that, yes, they're asking for subdivision modifications, but that subdivision from 06 already set the template for most of that. And in fact, is that my next slide? Yes, it is. So the easement lot parcel, so when I say that, the easement lot parcel, that's the internal easement where the cars move around. So that's like the parcel in the property, that's the access easement. So that was essentially set in 2006. And then another modification is that their pads, those are the building pads for the townhomes, they're less than 125 feet deep. But again, those were set in 2006. And then the townhome units in the rear will not have direct access onto the street. They have access onto that easement parcel, but that was contemplated improved in phase one. So I just want to point that out because it's fair to remind the commission as to what is being requested now. It's also fair to state, well, but you know, what's from 2006. Site plan. So this is the updated version. And the main thing here I just wanted to point out is the public benefit that's being proposed, and that's on the west side, which is the bottom. And so what was originally proposed in 2006 was an open area, also to the west of the condo building. And so what the applicant is doing now is they are taking that area, but they're now saying it's going to be open to the public, so there'd have to be some type of easement for that, you know, they'll have to maintain it, but it will be available for public access. And they want to improve it with that pergola and benches, and I believe there's like paths there, walking paths. And the commission may recall that this immediately abuts up to what is essentially an open area within the public right-of-way. It's kind of like a city park right there where the streets meet. And the only other thing I'll say about this is I do want to point out that the applicant did have to chose to shift their building to the west. They chose to do that in part to make this access here. So this open area is somewhat reduced from 06, but that is to allow greater access both for the residents who would live here, but also for the fire truck to get back in there. Okay, height. I actually have two exhibits on here. This is one that's not marked up in case that's cleaner to see, and then this is one that's marked up. Now this exhibit actually goes back to June 24th. But this is just, again, to kind of be clear on it. Staff had a few comments about a few additional markups on it. And so this is just to be clear about it, because this is additional relief that does trigger the public benefit. So the zoning code, the way it does height, it measures height from grade, and height and grade are defined in the code. And grade is essentially the average grade of a lot. So if you have a flat lot, your grade is going to be basically just what you look at, the ground. If you have a larger lot that slopes, it can be this plane that cuts through like the middle of the property. And so that has an impact on how you do it. And so when we discuss these things, it's important to remember the context. What does it look like? What does it feel like? But then we have to come back to the technicalities of the zoning code. So I have several slides. I'll try to go through this relatively quickly.
So this dark red line represents the 35 maximum height limit for this zoning district. This dashed line here represents the grade as defined in the zoning code. And so what you see by this is you see what the applicant is actually asking for relief. And the condo building is 2.1 feet more than what was granted in 2006. In 2006, the condo building was granted 39 feet, and it's going 2.1 feet over that. The total height is 52 feet in height, and that would be the contextual, hey, that's what it looks like, so I'm standing right here, it's 52 feet high. Of the 18 townhomes, 10 do not need relief, and 8 do, and that 8 will vary from a low of 1.2 feet to 11.9, and the 11.9 one, of course, is the one that's towards the top of the hill. And then I just want to point out that the pre-existing townhome units would need relief by the current code. I did look at this briefly. I did review this. So the definition for grade changed basically right before this development came in back in 2006. And so this actually does comply with how grade would have been defined. The old development complies with how grade would have been defined before that, but it does not comply with the current requirement, and the current requirement would have applied. It would have technically applied, and so they're non-conforming with that. Yes, Chair.
Okay, so when I look at this picture, the condo building is on the left, so it's almost as if we're standing in the parking lot of the buildings. We're not looking at it from the street view. This is more like
We're looking north to south, so you depending on how you want to look at it, you would either be on the south of it looking north, or you could be on the north side looking at it south, because this is a cross section that goes east to west from the bottom of the hill here.
Right.
On up to the top of the hill.
Right, and so that would be from the south. I would be
Correct.
like on the south side of the building.
This would be south.
With the, a condo building on my left. And then, so those townhouse units on the right-hand side, on the upper right, those are the original phase one ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So as much as we're concerned about the height of the phase two, all the phase two ones to the west of it are all shorter. Is that correct?
In terms of, measuring from the grade, the
Yes.
phase two ones are less, yes.
Okay.
If you measure.
Relative to the zoning code, yes.
Yes.
They're the same height, I take it,
Yes.
from.
Right, they're okay, I get it. Yes, they're the same height from grade, but if you were in the phase one building and looking out toward the phase two buildings, they would all be lower. If you were at the top, they would all be lower.
Right.
Okay.
In terms of contextual, correct, in terms of contextual height, and this is the applicant's exhibit. The applicant's exhibit indicates that the existing townhomes are about 35 and a half feet in height. And then the proposed ones are 37 feet in height. And that's the contextual, you're standing there looking at it.
Right.
But actually, we get to the next slides, which just paint a little more on this. So one thing that the commission asked is the commission asked for renderings from the applicant to get kind of a better idea of how this was going to look. So this rendering here, let me start with the bottom one. The bottom one, so this is if you're on the top of the hill, it would be the northeast corner, Laurel and McGovern intersection. So if you're looking at so these are the existing townhomes that face Laurel. And then these that are rendered in with the brick, this is what the applicant is proposing. So this is the applicant's exhibit to show what that would look like. And, it's always tough to get a photo, but this is just from Google Street View. But this is kind of at a similar location. I took this from Google. Again, you're kind of at the top of the hill looking down, and to the left you see the existing townhomes, and then down here is where the new ones would be built. And then, this is the reverse. Again, this is just from Google. This is looking, the most recent one they have, this is looking back up the hill. And then the only other thing I'll say about this is this here would be This would be looking at this entryway here. And then the applicant, then this is a Google Street image. This is essentially what's right across from where the applicant wants to build. This is on the north side of the street. Now, that is a different zoning district, I want to point that out.
Yeah.
But that's what's directly across. And then this is from the south side looking north, which I didn't do a street view because these aren't on a street. These abut backyards.
Right.
And so this shows, again, the existing townhomes. And of course, these were in the packet, obviously. These were in the packet. Anybody could pull them up and zoom in on it. But, and again, this is an applicant's exhibit. So the applicant tried to draw what the viewscapes were and how the existing townhomes line up to what's proposed.
Okay.
Are there any questions? That's all I had to say about height. Unless there's any questions on that. I actually don't have much left of this presentation. The rest is pretty short. Okay, moving on then. I'll point out the applicant added 20 additional shrubs. That's this red note. So that means they would comply with the current requirements except for, I can't remember this is the same as this is the same as June 17th. The only change is they added the 20 additional shrubs. I think there was an issue with, they meet the tree requirements, it wasn't clear which one were the evergreen and which one were the ornamental. Oh, yeah, and that is my presentation. Those are the updates. Of course, I can go back through anything else that the commission would like.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Imchek?
On the previous slide, Carl, it looked like there was an adjustment to the open space on the property as well. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yep, that's from June 17th. That goes back to June 17th where the open space was partially reduced due to some layout changes they made.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any more questions? I'm just going to make the comment that I know we were concerned about the older buildings looking down onto the rooftops of the newer buildings, and that diagram that you gave, that one, makes it seem to me like that's going to be hard to even see the rooftops of those buildings because they're, the new buildings aren't that low compared to the old buildings. So mostly they're just going to be looking out and they'll see the sides of those buildings, but not necessarily the roofs and the air conditioners. But I do agree that I think we approve that there would be some kind of shielding of the air conditioners up there. And I think we agreed to that at the last meeting, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Right, and my understanding is the applicant does agree with that. It was just a staff comment that.
No, that's fine.
To make sure that's clarified on the site plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Does the applicant wish to speak?
I just picked a short straw, so I get to come up and
Lucky
speak.
you.
Once again, Mark Korinsky with HKM Architects and Planners. We're happy to be in front of you again. There are two conditions. The one is the screening of the air conditioners. We agreed to it last time. If you look on the site plan, it shows you a section, and it also added a note to that section that says that they'll be screened. If you also look, there's a graphic that actually shows an example of the product to show how it would be screened. So we're agreeing that we will be screening that. The harder one is the question about occupancy and certificate of occupancy. We are trying to get this site cleaned up, built, and move on for the whole community, and we've been trying that ever since we've been picking up on the site. The foundations are in place for the townhomes right now. If we get the go-ahead, we will proceed as fast as possible to get a building permit, which we don't control, obviously, the timing of that. The construction of those townhomes, the foundations are in place. The construction of those townhomes is somewhere around, let's say, 6 to 9 months. The construction, we have the same issue with the getting a permit for the multifamily building. That building is going to take longer to build. We don't have a foundation in place. It's an elevator building. It's more complex construction. What we'd really like to do is build as close to the new homeowners as possible, get those built and get them online as soon as possible. We understand that there has been a concern because you were promised back in 2006 by somebody else for inclusionary units that you did not get. So we understand where the staff comment and recommendation is coming from. What we'd like to do, it is our intent, is to finish this out. We would love to say, let's get the townhomes in now. We can stage on the other parcel while we're getting construction drawings completed and the like. We would be happy to say we won't ask for a certificate of occupancy for any of the townhomes until we start construction on the multifamily building. That gives us the chance to finish the townhomes out. It's a shorter time frame. We think that the multifamily building is going to follow, don't quote me, but somewhere around 6-9 months perhaps, depending on how everything plays out. So to have the townhomes built and then sit empty for 6-9 months, in our opinion, doesn't make sense. So that's, what we're trying to do is figure out, we understand where the staff's coming from, we understand where the city's coming from. We're just saying pragmatically, we have foundations in place, we can start construction, we can get this thing going. And, we'd be happy to say we won't get a certificate of occupancy for any of the townhomes until such time that we start construction on the multifamily building. We have no problem with that.
Okay. I'm trying to avoid us coming back here in 2 years for phase 3, which is the condo building.
So are we. I love standing up in front of you. I hope not to be in front of you on this project ever again, with all due respect. So we agree with the intent. All we're requesting is if there's a nuance to it that we could come up with as a effort, as a group here to say, hey, let's keep in mind what the reality on the ground is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody from the commission have a question for the applicant? The applicant went away. Yes.
If you don't like the stick that we're holding over your head, or proposing to hold over your head by virtue of what the staff has recommended, I understand you're thinking about it, but what do we have? What does the city have that is not going to put us here, what is it, almost 19 years later? Going through phase 3, as the chair said, with these units not being built. And I don't have the answer, but to say that, and I understand where you're coming from, it certainly makes more sense to start construction on something that's kind of
started
ground ready. But at the same time, again, we don't want to kick this can down the road like they've kicked it down the road from 2006. So what's your suggestion?
So Simon Berger with B3 Companies, principal.
Have you been sworn in before?
I'm sure at some point, not today, not tonight.
I don't,
Have you been sworn in on this public hearing?
No.
Oh, then,
do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, please state your name again and spell your last name for a minute.
Simon Berger, Berger.
Okay.
So to answer your question, this project, we are fully funded and we're fully equity and bank debt committed. We can provide you statements from the bank president stating that this project will be 100% completed. I know me telling you that it's going to be completed is only talk. I can't represent the last 19 years, but I can only represent what we have done in the past, and that's in Highland Park, the former Jacob site, the 5 single-family homes. That's one of our sites. That's all the homes are going up. We're going to be putting in the final asphalt grade to that subdivision in short order in the next few months. In terms of this project, given that we have the pads in the ground, it only makes sense for us to go vertical right away. The work that's going to begin with clearing out the brush, clearing out the hill, and just getting it ready for construction is going to take about a month. While HCAM submits the permits for the multifamily building and gets it approved, we're going to be constructing the townhome piece. As soon as we get permits granted from the city, we're going to be building the multifamily right away. We are ready to build it. So by the time that even COs would be considered, the city will see considerable movement on the multifamily in terms of a structure, under roof, windows being completed. Maybe the interior is not completed, but the overall shell and a lot of substantial work will be done prior to you guys even considering giving us a CO on the first townhome unit. So in terms of work being completed, you will see considerable amount of work being done simultaneously to both the townhomes and the multifamily structures. And just to touch on, in terms of speed, again, not the city, but Glencoe, we finished that 29 single-family home project in 5 months. The city had it earmarked for about a 4-year, 5-year project. It was done in 5-6 months. With financing costs and with the cost of capital and tariffs and everything, we already planned. We already have our materials picked out. We are already planning to, make these bundles of purchasing. So it'd be our disadvantage to stop. We're not stopping. We're going to complete this project through. And unfortunately, yes, in terms of the style of construction, the multifamily will take longer than the townhomes.
Okay. Director Fontaine has a question or comment.
So, Madam Chair, we do want to see this project completed, and staff did put in the staff report this to just highlight this point and make sure that we've talked about it before it gets to council, as it is an important element of this. In terms of the idea about the phasing or the sub-phasing of this phase, I should say, meaning the townhouses and then the multifamily. Provided that they have a complete permit set, all elements of the permit set and is issued, and they complete substantial construction of that multifamily, I think that would probably be sufficient.
I agree too. How do we define,
It would be a discretion of the building official, me. That's what I would say. Substantial construction completed on that condo phase. You can make any condition you want, but that's what I would suggest. So a complete building permit set being issued. Okay? And substantial construction having been completed. Understanding that it will not be ready for occupancy and they still have much more to do on the interior. But that's what I would suggest, and just from staff's perspective, might work.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
And then we could issue COs on townhomes, and only at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, I do think it's a little unfair to make them wait until the condo building is totally complete before we issue a certificate of occupancy on the townhomes, because obviously the townhomes can get set up faster. So I don't have a problem with modifying the condition to be what you've just said. I'd also guess, since we adopt the findings of fact and send those to city council, if they did not agree with that, they could change that condition. Is that true?
Absolutely can change. It's a recommendation to council, and it's been vetted as part of the public hearing, and we wanted to get that out there and hear your thoughts as a commission on it as well. I would be satisfied with that, and I understand the practicalities of the simultaneous, but the spirit of that recommendation from staff was to highlight this and to avoid having what you had mentioned aptly as a third phase 20 years from now as a commission, which we do not want.
I'll be here then.
Yeah.
Well, what concerns me, when this whole issue came before our predecessors in 2006 or 2005, whenever it happened, everybody thought things were going to go forward, and we all had the best intentions, and that's how it works. And it didn't work for reasons beyond the control of probably the developer and everybody else. We don't want to see ourselves in that provision in that place. And I think, Director, you've stated some, interesting concepts that are certainly worth considering because we want to get this thing going. We want to see this done. There's been a lot of work on it, both from this commission and from the developer, and we're appreciative of that. The one thing that seems to me, and I guess this is the lawyer part of me, is what gets people moving is having money at risk. And certainly the developer has that when they're developing it. Well, what about asking for like a letter of credit in favor of the city?
So,
That would stand behind that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
So we would require a letter of credit, and we do as a standard for our development agreements. So we would definitely have a letter of credit. The question is a letter of credit for what, and what's the outstanding amount? So typically what we'll do is for any public improvements, we take a letter of credit equal to the amount of those public improvements being constructed. Because they will be turned over and eventually owned by the city. So if they fail to complete, we would have the funds, complete funds to do that work. For the private side, it's different. For the private side, we don't request a letter of credit for the entirety of the cost of a private side development. That would be prohibitively costly. Because although the letter of credit, there's fees associated with it, you have to have that much money on, at the bank to get one, right? So it's a lot of capital to tie up. So what we do on that side of things is we take a letter of credit equal to what we think we would need to demolish and remove essentially unfinished construction sufficiently. And that's how we do that. And that's just an estimate of what that is, and that's what we set with them, and so.
Okay.
I don't think I need to point out what kind of times we're living in right now with an awfully lot of uncertainty. I don't, this kind of micromanaging of a development project, we have a development agreement, we can enforce that, or.
That's correct.
And if things go the way they may go one way, like in 2008, you're just stuck anyway. So, I don't think it's that. They seem to be agreeable to a very reasonable.
So you don't think we need to condition that?
You guys, maybe you think that I don't think it's necessary. I think it's an unfair burden. And I'm not the biggest private sector lover in the world, believe me. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, so.
That's why we sit together.
That's exactly right. So but I do think that under oath, they have said the money's there, this is how they're gonna build it, and I'll hold them to it. They gave their oath.
Director Fontaine?
As I said before, if we get a full permit set issued for that multifamily building and substantial construction, I would be satisfied with that without any extraordinary dollar amount for an LOC.
Okay. That is agreeable to me. And so, all right, so I guess we would be looking to adopt the findings of facts with the conditions of approval.
Public.
Oh, I'm sorry, God,
I know.
weeks off, helping my kids move. I've lost my touch. Okay, do you have any comments from the public for this? Yes, sorry, thank you, please come on up.
Oh, no, I didn't realize it was him.
I'm just mentioning, my name is Cal Bernstein, I represent the HOA, and I am also a proud alumni of University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I believe we have another one in the audience also. So raise your hand if you went to Wisconsin, so we appreciate that. And I hope the football team can bear out the tough schedule that they have this year. If you could put up the HOA, if you could put up, Carl, the one slide. The comments with the HOA. There we go. With regard, first of all, I probably stepping out of my lane here, but as the HOA, we want to see this built. And we want to see it completed, and any compromise that could be reached to allow the developer to move forward as soon as possible to complete it, we're all in favor of it. And this developer is different than was in 2006. Actually, I sat in a lot of those meetings in 2006 with that developer, and obviously that was a once-in-a-lifetime situation that happened with the crash. So I'm full confidence that this developer will be able to complete the project. His reputation is impeccable. So with regard to the HOA, we appreciate we've made a lot of progress with the developer, and we appreciate their willingness to listen to us. With regard to the AC units, that we're in favor of that condition that with regard to the approval of the recommendation to include some screening. Regarding the fence, we've gone back and forth with the development team regarding this. If you could put up the site plan, please, Carl. What we understand after talking to the representatives of the developer, and they can speak for themselves, I don't want to speak for them, but is that the fire marshal we're talking really about the 6 parking spaces right there. And the fire marshal wants those to be moved south to allow some additional room, I guess, for fire suppression systems there. But we would still like to see a fence there. Now, we realize that we cannot block the sidewalk that goes to McGovern. We appreciate the fact that that's the access from the front of those units to McGovern, so we appreciate that. So what we're asking for, and actually hearing Carl's presentation, we note that this development is 1 excess parking space. I mean, it's 94 versus 93 is compliance. What we're suggesting, if it's agreeable to developers, that we remove the space number 6 right there, and then have a fence go from the south elevation of the southernmost townhome along McGovern all the way to the existing fence that is on the west side. And so that area would be fenced in, but it would not be prohibiting anybody from accessing the sidewalk. So we would be willing to lose that 1 parking spot in order to create that situation where those parking areas are devoted toward the existing building. Those are the guest parking spaces that have been there. And instead of having 6 parking spaces, it'd be 5. The building would still be compliant. And Carl, once upon a time, you used to have a pointer here.
Do you want to use?
Yes. I mean, it
has like no stretch.
So once upon a time, I could go up there and point, but it's basically put the fence along right here through the middle of this parking space, and it loses parking space. These parking spaces will be 9 inches wide, so 9 feet, excuse me, 9 feet wide, and there'll be a fence, there's an existing fence on this west side right here that will either be replaced or will remain, and that would address the concerns of the HOA, and I'll let the developer speak for himself, I believe. I think that's a fair compromise with regard to that issue. And the other issues, Carl, if you mind putting up we appreciate the cost of relocation. I believe that's included in the developer's application. And regarding the height concern, we appreciate, we're the ones who asked for the exhibit. So we understand it is what it is. And obviously it's not ideal, but we really want to see this developed and built. So that's really the only concern left is with regard to that the fence with regarding the parking, and we believe that that's a fair compromise in order to allow this project to move forward.
Okay. Yes.
What would be the purpose of the fence?
The fence is that there's a concern is that those parking, and I'll be honest with you, the concern is that those are guest parking that have been used by the existing original 12. And then if you allow that to be open, all those units to the west will be used as guest parking. And they'll basically, instead of having those 12 units being used in guest parking, those will be basically guest parking for every one of those units on the south. And they think that the HOA believes that would be, there would have been a very untenable situation with regard to people visiting them. And I believe the developer is in agreement to do that.
And that's not an exit way, that's not a driveway there to the parking spaces, right, is it?
No, it's a dead end.
It's a dead end. Okay.
Yes, and I'll let the developer's attorney speak for himself with regard to that too.
And the fire department has no issues like pulling hoses with the fence there?
Well,
There's an existing fence there now. Yeah,
But there's no existing.
yes.
can I just?
Director Fontaine?
Sure.
So the area that, in working with Chief Schragi, who is the city's fire marshal, and I'm the building official, we talked about this area here, which has been expanded so that a fire truck could come on over here and access this fire hydrant right here and have access here. Now, we didn't require further to get back into here because there's sufficient access from along McGovern Street to those buildings as well as this building here, okay? And so there's restrictions on parking here and here because there needs to be a width of at least 26 or 28 feet between these two structures here, any protruding structure, okay? So we can't have cars parking up there. So that's been all satisfied and good. This moved this down and idea was to preserve the number of parking spaces. City has no, if they want to eliminate a parking space down there, we don't have a concern because it's not a zoning compliance matter. So that's fine by us. As far as the path, they do have the sidewalk that goes out to McGovern, but then you also have to think about, as was pointed out, the guest parking and where the fence would be. From a fire life safety perspective, it would be good to have a gate here potentially, but we do have access here and we would want to have something, we could have a Knox box on it. We have those in town where there's a gate with the Knox box, so it can be locked. And fire can still access it should they need to or want to. What this does is it frustrates the guest parking situation for the development. So then these 12 units or these two units, these two buildings have a disproportionate number of guest parking spaces over the rest of the development. So guest parking is calculated by the number of units times a proportion, and that's how that's done. So what will that do? Well, that has implications for how guest parking would get utilized in the site from a site planning point of view. They still have the number of guest parking spaces that are required though. And so there is on-street parking, but it is 3 hour only, I believe, along Laurel and McGovern in this area.
And I would note just one more, is that we're fine with the gate with a Knox box, if that's fine with the HOA. I would mention is that we're not prohibiting anybody from parking those spaces. They could still park and actually walk around towards the garages. So it's still, they would still have access to those guest parking spaces, not exclusive. It's just those spaces have been used exclusively by the original 12 for the last 19 years. And they've had issues with on-street parking in that area, which they've been fighting, and there's going to be additional development in the area. You'll be probably seeing another application very shortly with regard to on the northern side of the street where the church is. So there's going to be a lot of competition for street parking. And so that's the concern that's been raised by the HOA. We feel that we've been flexible with a lot of other items. This is one thing that we're asking for. And again, it's not prohibiting them from using it. They would just have to walk to the north and then to the west where the garages are. And they would still have access to those guest parking spaces.
Okay, did someone on the commission have a question or comment? Commissioner Chuck?
I was just curious if the new development is in compliance with the visitor parking requirements, Carl?
The development as a whole would be has one space more than what's required for all the parking, including guest parking. And so what was your question? Well, as a whole, as a whole,
This whole
phase one plus phase two.
The whole project has been taken as a whole because it is a whole project. So you're asking, what about the second phase as if it's two separate projects?
I'm considering that those 6 parking spaces may not, in actuality, be able to be used by the new units, and wondering how that would affect the ratio for the visitor parking. Like, what would their ratio be compared to the phase 1 buildings?
I would note there'd be 5 spaces, not 6, because we were losing 1 space. But I would say, as I said before, they could still be accessed, is that they would have to walk through the garages to be able to access. So they do have access. It's just, they just won't be able to access the sidewalk along McGovern.
Be harder to access.
Yeah, but they still have access. And that's all we have. We'll go upstairs.
One other question, what are the new units that are being proposed, will those owner occupants would be members of the existing HOA once they're built, or will they be members of their own HOA?
Do you want to answer that? They're splitting it to 2 different HOAs, but I'll let the applicant's attorney speak to it.
Anthony Oakes, attorney for the developer. Wife went to Madison.
Close enough.
Yeah. We are establishing a new HOA for the multifamily building and the townhomes. It would be separate. To answer the HOA attorney's the comments and questions, we have no objection. We didn't include it in the updated site plan because we were discussing just the actual position and location. But ultimately, the entire site as a whole has to comply with the city, has to be agreeable to the city, and has to be agreeable to the fire chief. If the fire chief has no objection, we have no objection. We could put it where it needs to be.
All right, any more comments from the commission at the moment? I feel like I don't like the idea of saving those 5 or 6 spaces for the phase 1 portion. I feel that's a little bit unfair, and I know they can use it, but I don't maybe like the idea of the fence. I feel like since phase 2 has had to absorb all the affordable housing, phase 2 has made sacrifices as well, and it is a part of a whole, and I don't like the fence. I guess that's all I'm saying there. Okay, I believe we had somebody lined up to make a comment. Was that you, sir?
Yeah. I've already been started.
Okay, yes, I remember. But you can remind us of your name, please.
Eric Spitzer,
Okay.
and I'm a current resident. Just wanted a couple comments about the parking that is important to the current residents. There is no other guest parking at all.
Okay.
So we appreciate your concern and your consideration. And we would like to comment about how the developer has worked with the HOA. We appreciate that. We've had up and back, and it's worked out very successfully. We've give and take, and they've given and take. So we would like to see it built. Just one comment about the construction on the condo building. We too would like to see them finish the townhouses first. That would certainly muffle the sound while they're building that condominium building. And so those homes in the middle there will definitely keep the noise levels down. We'd appreciate that for as long as it does take. But our compliments both to the city, to the council, to the committee. We appreciate that. That's why Highland Park does work as it does. And as residents, we're proud of that. Proud to have yourself, Madam Chair, the City Council here, and Mr. Fontaine. Thank you very much for your attention and for the time that you've devoted to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that we need that. Well, as the previous chair always stated, the job of the Plan and Design Commission is to make projects better. And, it may seem irritating that we have to sit here and rehash things over and over again, but it makes a project better. And I know we'll see that when this project finishes. All right, are there any more comments from the public? Okay, so, Mr. Burhop, could you put up the findings of fact and conditions page that you had earlier?
Okay, so, this is that I will point out several things. So bullet point 1 is what was in the packet, and Director Fontaine stated on the record how bullet 1 could be amended related to submitting a complete building permit set for the condo building and something related to substantial construction to the satisfaction of the building official. So that's related to number 1.
Before the issuance of COs for townhouses.
For the townhouses, yes.
That's an important message. Yeah.
And then number 2, my understanding is the applicant has agreed to that. It's just that's a staff comment that it should be clarified. It should be written, it should be marked on the site plan. It should be marked somewhere on the site plan, on the actual townhome units, that those AC units will be screened. Because on the site plan, it only shows it on the condo building.
Right, yeah, that should be included for the townhouse buildings.
Right, and then the third thing for the commission's consideration, which is not on this, is related to the fence.
Okay.
Whatever the commission wants.
Yeah, and correct, and what the commission thinks about the fence, running along that,
All right, what does the commission think about the fence?
here.
I'm sort of in agreement to you. I'm not a fan of the fence. I think it'll just cause more issues for everyone there than solve in the long term. But, I mean, I'm not living there, but.
Yeah, I
It will be.
don't think we need to get involved. I mean, it's a negotiation between the two homeowners associations or the association and developer. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
that's a
think
good
it
point.
makes any difference to this project whether
Right, whether
there's a
it's,
fence
I mean,
there.
if it
or-
were a fence between this property and somebody else's property, public property, but this seems like an internal issue.
And the total parking spaces remains compliant, just goes from 94 to 93.
If they lose one parking
Yeah, if they
space,
lose
yeah.
one space.
Right, but it's still compliant. Okay, all right, so with that, we would be looking for a motion to adopt the findings of fact with those two conditions that we just talked about. The condition for allowing the certificate of occupancy for the townhomes and, the condition that the air conditioning and mechanical units are screened on the condo building and the townhomes. So, can we get a motion?
Which of these can we combine?
You can combine all of them. If there's a design review portion, that would be separate.
Design is separate, okay. So if I may,
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt the finding of fact recommending approval for a special use permit in the nature of a preliminary and final plan development with an amendment to the development agreement, final plat of re-subdivision, and variances and modifications from city code as appropriate for the proposed townhomes and condominiums for phase 2 and other improvements at the corner of Laurel and McGovern Street, including 844 to 768 Laurel Avenue and 1682 to 1652 McGovern Street, with the two conditions that the site plan must show the screening for the townhome air conditioning units, and that before any certificate of occupancy for the townhomes is issued, that there must be substantial progress on the condominium building shown.
Second.
Okay, any comments from the commission on this motion? Any
I just
discussion?
wanted to make sure that the motion incorporates what Director Fontaine mentioned when he spoke to that issue.
It does in a slightly different way that, full permit set be issued and substantial construction have been completed before the issuance of those. Any occupancy permit for the townhomes.
So I think we ought to amend them. I would propose amending the motion to include full permit set that Director Fontaine mentioned, which it doesn't specifically.
I'm not gonna start from
Okay,
the
so,
top.
is the petitioner, accepting of that friendly amendment proposal by Commissioner Henry?
Well, this sounds like a substantial amendment, which would require a second. So we're amending we are amending the motion on the floor to
Yes.
incorporate the completion of the permits. And so I would ask if there was a second to that motion.
Yes, I was gonna say, I don't think we had a second for the original. Do we have a second for the original?
For
motion?
this subsequent motion.
Sorry.
Commissioner Nana seconded the original.
He seconded.
That was on the initial motion.
Okay,
And
so now we need a second for the amendment.
Correct.
I didn't get to that part yet. So I was making sure that that amendment was acceptable to our motioner first, and then was it approved by the seconder?
And I'm seeing this as slightly different than our usual friendly amendments. This is.
Can I ask a question though? How in the world could you show substantial progress on the condo building if it didn't have a permit?
You would have to have a full set of permits.
I say things for a reason. We have, and what I want is absolute clarity that the full building permit set needs to be issued so that we don't have, well, I think this is substantial, I think that is substantial. You see what I'm saying? So we have a full issuance of permits and they're doing construction, then a judgment can be made. I don't want a piecemeal situation out there.
Can I second his amendment motion to my motion?
Yeah,
I'll second Commissioner Henry's amendment.
And so this would be a vote on the amended motion, which incorporates the permits in addition to the certificate of occupancy issue, which you all had discussed before.
Yes, correct. Do I need to get approval from our seconder?
No, this is a subsequent motion. So now it's just a roll call.
All right, please call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Incheck?
Aye.
Commissioner Nanis?
Aye.
Commissioner Henry?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kirsch?
Aye.
And Chair Moore?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries with the conditions. And this is
Now-
recommended.
No, that was on the amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
The
apologize.
underlying motion has now been amendment, and you all can vote on the underlying motion to approve, subject to the Commissioner Henry's amendment.
Okay.
All right, so do we need to
Roll call.
read another motion for that?
Nope.
Or do we just
No,
know how to
just a
vote?
roll call on that.
All right, please roll call on that.
So now it's a live consideration, I see.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Incheck?
Aye.
Commissioner Nanis?
Aye.
Commissioner Henry?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kirsch?
Aye.
And Chair Moore?
Aye.
Okay, so this time, the motion carries and the item is recommended for approval with conditions. to the
Okay.
City Council.
The one thing we didn't cover was the design review.
Correct.
So we have to have a
Motion.
motion for that.
If I may?
Yes, you may.
I'll give it another go. I move approval of the design review for a design review with any variations and modifications from city code as appropriate for the proposed townhomes and condominiums for phase 2 and other improvements at the corner of Laurel Avenue and McGovern Street, including 844 to 768 Laurel and 1682 to 1652 McGovern.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Okay, Commissioner Henry seconds the approval of the design review. Please, any discussion? I think we're okay with the design so far. Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Incheck?
Aye.
Commissioner Nanis?
Aye.
Commissioner Henry?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kirsch?
Aye.
And Chair Moore?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. This item has been approved.
And I do, that was, the design was definitely one thing that was made better in this whole
Absolutely.
Yeah.
process. I really liked
Yeah, it's gonna.
I really liked the redesign one.
Okay, moving on to item D.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please keep it down on your way out of the building. Okay, so this is, the next item is a continued hearing on 1650 Second Street. Public hearing PUD 2025-00051 for a special use permit and the nature of a concurrent preliminary and final plan development and a final plat of re-subdivision and design review with modifications from city code for a 5-story, 19-unit multifamily development at 1632, 1640, and 1646 Second Street. All right, you're up.
Great. Yes, so let's get into it. So this is continued from the June 3rd PDC meeting. I'll try to go through the plans in a summary and just let you know kind of what is new with this submission. So Fulton Developer is the applicant, proposes the following project, the 19-unit condo building, 5 stories with a lower level of parking with frontages along Second Street and Walnut Street. As the chair stated, they're here for a concurrent preliminary and final plan development with modifications from city code, a plat of re-subdivision, what they have submitted now, which is before you, and design review. So updates since June 3rd, they have submitted their plat of consolidation. Their traffic study has been updated to reflect the current proposal, and it is no longer the Woolbright as it was previously. The public benefit, they have added one additional note to it, and I'll have more comments on that. They have submitted signage, requires no relief. I'll also present on that a little bit. The landscape plan, they have gone through and adjusted their plan. So now all is, no relief is requested for their landscape plan. And bike parking, they added a bike parking in the underground parking area. They reduced the parking by one in that area to take for bike parking. Also, I wanted to kind of summarize just what's all the relief that they are requesting for this project. First is height. They are allowed 51 feet, requesting 64 feet. Lot coverage, they're allowed 33.3%. They're requesting 49%. Article 23, they're supposed to have 2 pedestrian frontages, one on Second, one on Walnut Street. They're only having a frontage or a pedestrian entrance on Second Street, so they need relief for the Article 23 section. The 5-foot in-depth plant buffer around the foundation of the plan. Since this project is along the alley and they have guest parking adjacent to the alley, that 5-foot plant buffer would be in between the parking and the structure, so they're asking relief from that side of the planting relief. And the foot candle measurements exceeds the allowance on the south and west property lines. So those are all the requested relief.
Can I make a comment on this slide? Yeah. So I just want to remind the commission that those are all modifications requested as part of the plan development application, but it's the first 2 that should be reviewed in relation to the trigger for public benefit.
Thank you. The existing conditions, again, they are going to be demolishing these 3 properties. In total, that is 13 units. They are proposing 19 units, so a net benefit of 6 additional units for the community. Neighborhood context, it is within the RO and RM2 to the south. So the plat of consolidation, they are not asking for any relief from the subdivision code. There's no additional comments from any other city divisions, and we're working with the utility agencies on receiving their comments. We're still kind of packaging that together, but we'll be working with the applicant on addressing any of their comments or concerns. Traffic study, our third-party reviewer reviewed their traffic study, had no outstanding comments. There was one comment, but it was the applicant had addressed it and no longer has comments on it. But in conclusion in the conclusion sections of their traffic study, it was noted that the traffic generated from the project would largely be accommodated by the roadway system adjacent. The parking spaces are adequate for the estimated peak parking, and total estimated traffic volume would be limited further and reduced due to the proximity to the metro station, which is in close proximity to this project. Off-street parking, I believe Commissioner Incheck last time asked if they got parking reduction because they were so close to the metro station, which they do. So that has been corrected. They now only are required 33 total parking spaces for the project. They are providing 37 in the underground parking area and still the 5 parking spaces for the guest parking. And they did have 38 originally on the underground parking, but in this red square here, they've transitioned this to a bike parking amenity for the building. Landscaping. So in short, they added 1 evergreen tree and that's all they needed to conform with the code. They were just short 1 tree because they needed to have 20 replanted for the trees that they were removing. They have addressed that and now there are no additional comments on their landscaping. Signage, This is from Second Street. This is the pedestrian entrance showing the address number and the Walton, the name of the project. There's no, they are compliant with code and not seeking relief for the sign code. On July 2nd, this project did go to the Housing Commission. They voted 3-2 in favor of the preliminary inclusion plan. Staff has been directed to draft findings of fact for the August 6th Housing Commission meeting, so I will update you again when that is finalized. But currently, it is preliminarily approved and working towards finishing out the recommendation for City Council. And a part of that, there was the commission is proposing to recommend approval for a payment in lieu of one inclusionary unit for the total 3.2 inclusionary units. The public benefit. So I provided just kind of the definition of public benefit, just if we have further discussions on this section. Wanted just to highlight, provided the form of improvement, donation, and dedication. This is not otherwise required as part of the development process, and that it serves the residents of the planned development and the community at large. So they still have, so they originally came here with 3 public benefits. It was the affordable units with enhanced size and additional features, the sidewalk improvements, and the $10,000 donation for the streetscaping. This comment here, which was in the packet, is from our senior planner, Zubin Coleman. He does the Housing Commission. These comments are part of the Housing Commission's meeting. Just stating what the inclusionary requirements are for the Housing Commission, or for the inclusionary units. They are meant to be at a size, the requirement is 950 square feet. The applicant is proposing 2 inclusionary units of 1,389 square feet and 1,074 square feet. So I just kind of wanted to provide context to how big these units are, since they are listing them as a public benefit. And kind of speaking further on the sidewalk replacement, Public Works has noted that with the construction process, it is likely that the sidewalks would be damaged and would need to be replaced as a part of the construction process. So not to consider this as a public benefit, because it is a requirement, will most likely be a requirement during construction. I don't have many comments on the donation of $10,000 for the streetscape. That is a benefit that they're proposing. And the additional public benefit since June 3rd is to mill and pave the public alley abutting the site, specifically abutting the site. So they're proposing to resurface the stretch that is approximately 170 feet. That is the stretch of the project. Chair.
So I would have the question that if the sidewalks are assumed to be damaged and that replacing them is not a public benefit, I feel the same would be the same of the alley. They're gonna be in and out there damaging it, so that resurfacing it is not really a public benefit, unless you're putting in like the permeable pavers or something special that is truly a public benefit.
Yeah, I spoke with the applicant earlier today. They just plan on resurfacing what is existing there.
Okay.
So maybe there's a further discussion on the actual repair of the alley and what that would look like. But currently their intention is just to resurface what is there.
All right, thank you. Continue if we didn't, if we.
I don't have much else. The interdepartmental comments are in the packet. Most of it was Public Works stating that the sidewalks would not be considered a public benefit. We did receive one public comment earlier today, which was forwarded to you. I will be posting that in the next packet when available. And the previous comments have also been posted in the packet as well for your review. So the recommendation is commission should reopen, well, yeah, that's already been reopened. Just to testimony, consider the application and deliberate and either continue or direct findings of fact. as appropriate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm confused a little bit, maybe you can enlighten me. Is just having inclusionary units a public benefit, or is it having inclusionary units that are larger than what's required, consider public benefit?
Larger than what is required is considered a public benefit. It is a requirement to have the inclusionary unit, so that's not a public benefit.
Okay.
And that's why I have the definition here as a discussion of whether we do think that does fit into the public benefit or not.
That's what's proposed.
Right.
So whether or not that's deemed a public benefit, you need
Right.
to consider that. In general, in our public benefits list, we do talk about affordable housing in there, but not to the extent affordable housing is required by code, that's not a public benefit. So it would be something enhanced from that.
Yeah.
So whether or not this enhancement is considered a public benefit, we have not broached this matter in this way. So it's something that the commission should consider and make a recommendation to council on. So again, it's not for the inclusionary units that are required, but rather for the size, the larger size than minimally required. Now, the other aspect of this was if I may, Chair, talk about the alley. So just remind the commission that we had an applicant just come through recently that had talked about improvements to an alley as well. Those adjacent to the development were not considered a public benefit. Those that extended beyond the frontage, if you will, of that alley was, and they did do that in permeable pavers. So as Chair pointed out, commission might consider a public benefit along the adjacent to the property if it's of permeable pavers. There's an environmental quality to that improves stormwater management and et cetera, so forth, that might be deemed part of a public benefit. But otherwise, if it's just repaving the alley adjacent to the property, I would respectfully not consider that a public benefit.
Councilperson Ross, you look like you have
I
something.
have a question, and I guess it's as appropriate now as any time. There was a public comment, I believe there was a public comment about, that was submitted in writing previously about the units, the current units on the site. And so my question is, are they occupied? And if any of them are, has any accommodation been made for the people who are being displaced?
I would put that to the applicant.
Okay.
The staff do not know, although we have, when we deal with this in the past, it is important that developers address that issue, inform folks and see to it that, there's an orderly vacation of the properties. This is an important aspect of things. Some developers have used, different methods to do that, cash for keys and other types of things to encourage people to vacate properties more quickly if they're seeking to do their development more quickly. But I don't know the status of that, and that would be an applicant question.
Okay, and I know, I think you had the sheet up that indicated that 2 of the properties had 1 family each and the other property had 2 families, is that right?
Yes, let me go back. Oh, here we go. Yes, so this is a single-family home. This one has 2 units, and then this is 10 units.
Oh, okay. Okay. Commissioner Nanis,
I have 2 questions for the staff. So earlier you mentioned that the Housing Commission had a split vote. Can you provide any feedback on their decision-making and where they sort of sat on their vote?
But I might just interject and just say, that was a preliminary vote, just as a reminder. And the final vote will come back to you before you make your recommendation. So we'll have better clarity on that. It was 3-2 vote, but if there's any insights that you could provide, please do. And if there's not, that's fine, we can come back with a report on that, and if you'd like minutes, we can provide those as well.
Yeah, just curious on their concerns that weren't resolved.
I know lightly, there was concerns on, possibly having the 2 units, on the first floor. But I want to try and review that a little bit more to make sure it's a little bit more precise. But I know that there was a few discussions on that and just the payment and fee, or payment in lieu.
In lieu for, like, omitting one, and then, of course, we do the payment in lieu for a fractional portion.
Yes.
But I do think that was brought up, that, you know, the affordable units are supposed to be split up in the building, and if they're, you know, they shouldn't be too close to each other. So I don't know if that was an issue there, but.
Yes, that was, I lightly talked with Zubin on it, and that was something that came up. But I can talk to him further and get a better report on what kind of, a little more insight on it.
Great, thank you. And then my second question is on Second Street there, like, the current parking situation, looks like it's like 2-hour parking on the street, is that correct?
I do not remember off the top of my head. I feel like I remembered last meeting, because I went there.
Yeah, wait, what was the question?
No, so I'm just trying to like wrap my brain around it's like Second Street, the parking situation on the current street, because there's a proposed curb cut with like 3 parking spots that I'm just trying to understand, are those specific, those are just gonna be like short-term parking, but does that curb cut be necessary when you already have on-street parking for the rest of the block? And can you just have temporary parking for short-term just on the street and keep the parkway instead of having a curb cut?
I will review that again. I believe that there's only parking on one side of the street, if I remember correctly. And this is, as you noted, just short-term parking for DoorDash,
Drop off and
drop-offs.
pick up.
Yeah, things that are just quick and 15 minutes kind of things.
I think that's what's in front of the, One Highland Park building as well.
So if I remember correctly, it's parking on the east side of the street, but I will,
Is it what?
We did check this for the last meeting. I remember asking Patrick to even specifically check this. We just couldn't remember.
But it's just one side of the street. Okay.
I'm just not a huge fan of removing parkway for parking when there's room for parking on the street
Already.
already. Why do we need to take away green space unnecessarily? When there's ample space, ample width on the existing street.
Gotcha.
So I have a question about, one of the variances that's being requested is for lot coverage. Normally, we just allow, 33.2%, and they're asking for 49%. Do we have a feel for what the other developments on the block are for their lot coverages?
I don't have a
Comparison's
precise
sake.
exhibit.
Yeah.
This is their height exhibit, which just is detailing kind of the other condo structures that are
Yeah.
similarly taking up the same amount of space. But I do not have precise numbers on how much they're actually covering their lots. But this is at least a good interpretation of the area in which some of these structures are taking up in the neighborhood.
I don't know if it'll be helpful or not, but we do have an impervious surface layer on our GIS I can pull up. The only thing I want to remind the commission is that impervious surface is a little different than the lot coverage requirement, because lot coverage is specifically defined in the zoning code for just being accessory and principal building coverage. But I can pull up the GIS and pull up in the impervious surface. So the darker the red, the more coverage. The lighter the red, the less coverage. But again, I want to just remind the commission though that What's that, sir?
The percentages.
Oh, so is that not,
That's the legend, yeah.
well, we can turn this, we'd have to turn this into an exhibit for the next meeting, but we have something we can. So these darker ones here, that's towards the,
So that's more impervious coverage.
yeah, that's in the, these here are towards the 60 to 80% range.
Okay.
And this is the proposed site, and it's proposed, well, again, there's a difference between impervious and lot coverage. Again, I just want to remind the commission of that.
Right. It just gives us an idea.
Does the
Right.
commission want to have that percentage calculated? I mean, what?
I just think it helps us make a better decision if we know, so if we're trying to grant a variance, if we know kind of what else is going on in the neighborhood. Because obviously all these other buildings, if they were built now, would have some kind of variance with them. They may have had variances granted to them when they were built. I was just not on the commission then, so I wouldn't know. So I don't know if that's like an easy thing to find, but it,
As Carl's pointing out, we'd have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
well, right, I understand.
Right.
I understand. Commissioner Inchuck has a question or a comment.
I just have a thought that it would be really helpful to know what the impervious coverage is of the site. I know that's not, I don't think that's something that you regulate, right? It's just lot coverage, but just in context of what's happening in the surrounding would be kind of helpful.
Right.
And then looking at the site plan, it does appear that there's a significant amount of impervious surface here. So I would just be curious to know.
Gotcha. I believe they have an impervious number in their plan somewhere, so I'll have the applicant answer that question.
But they're not asking for any setback relief, right?
No setback relief.
So,
And the fifth level also does the stair step back, so they are not encroaching within that fifth level as well.
Do we have a, so they're asking for a height relief, they're asking for lot coverage relief, they're asking for the Article 23 relief, which is one door versus two doors. I assume that just one doors, there's probably other emergency doors, and that's approved by the fire department and everything?
Yes, there is it's not on this one. Slides. It's not on this one, okay. But there is another entrance, I'll just use this. There is another entrance here at the alleyway.
Okay.
For the building, and then obviously there's also the ramp that goes into the building as well. And then I believe that is the entrances. I know that there is a fire room in this corner for the entrance for fire safety.
Okay.
So, yeah, the entrances that are Article 23, they're not talking about emergency.
Okay.
egress. Yeah, I mean, the building code applies to that, and that's not being
Right,
waived by
that's
this
not us.
process in anything.
Right.
So
No.
even if something was missed here, the building code is still gonna apply for that.
Okay. So the other variant relief that they're asking for is for the planting buffers along the alley side and,
As you can see, the landscaping goes all
And the
around the
parking area.
foundation. But yeah, in this section here is where they are requesting the relief.
yes.
I guess my curiosity is on the lot coverage. I mean, it doesn't seem, if you meet all the setback requirements, I mean, you basically have to, whatever, I can't figure the percentage right away, but you have to exceed the setback requirements to meet the lot coverage requirements, right? So why do those two things not align?
oh, because, can I take a stab at that?
I can't stump Carl at all.
This is an Article 23 overlay zone, right, along the south and the east?
Yeah.
So the Article 23 instead of having a minimum setback requirement, it actually has a minimum and a maximum. So the Article 23 overlay actually kind of, to an extent, wants the building to come closer to the street. So that's why I think the building is larger than, it's taking up more of the lot than you probably think it is. Is it right? Am I answering the question?
Well, it seems like I I get what he's saying, that if you have a lot set up with a standard set of setbacks, the remaining percentage of the lot should be the same as your max lot coverage percentage. Which, in that max lot, that's all gonna change depending on the size of the lot. So the percentage is gonna change. If you have a really big lot and you put in the setbacks, that lot coverage is 1%. If you have a smaller lot, it's a much smaller percentage.
Yeah, I mean, this says the west and the north sides are actually, the setbacks are greater than required, so, I mean,
I don't know, I think that is not.
it's just weird.
Our
So
purview to rewrite the
Yeah, I
code.
see what you're saying. Here's this thing, in terms of the interrelationship, I think this might help. So, a setback, just means that you can't have the structure past that setback, right?
Right.
But that doesn't, then there's the open space or the coverage. And so the setbacks just define where a building can be loaded on a lot. It doesn't necessarily mean that the entirety of that area within the setbacks can be covered. I guess that's the difference. So there's the coverage ratio and there's the setback. So it kind of just sets the box within which you can move a structure around, providing that you have enough open space remaining.
I see your point.
So it gives total flexibility on site design without prescribing it in the same manner as a setback does, where it just says thou shalt have a 15-foot from
Right,
this
you
to
can't
this.
build in that
This
area.
allows for flexibility of where that open space will be based on site design, how you load things up.
Okay, do you have a slide on the foot candle measurements for the south and west sides? Which are where the alley and the Walnut Street sides of the building?
I do have an exhibit. I will say that it would probably be very difficult to read on a screen
Okay.
right now, because it is just a bunch of small numbers that are.
Right, no,
yeah.
I know, we've seen those.
Yeah, it is in the packet.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was on the south and west sides where it was exceeding.
so that's the alley and that's Walnut Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I presume Walnut already has streetlights on it?
I don't have the answer to that question. I would presume that there's some street lighting on Walnut, but I don't know the exact proximity to the area.
And I would assume that we don't care if the alley has some additional lighting. People usually like that. Okay. Do we have any more questions for the department, for staff? Oh, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Chuck.
I'm sorry to harp on the lot coverage thing, but I have one more question. Looking at the site plan, there's terraces, elevated patios, there's a ramp to the garage, there's parking. I'm curious how all of those things factor in or don't factor into the lot coverage amount, or if they're in impervious, or if because they're terraces or elevated lawn panels, they are not part of that calculation. I'm having trouble putting all the pieces together, I guess, of what's making up that lot coverage number.
I think I know it's just the bulk that goes towards the coverage, correct?
So,
Not the patio
yeah,
spaces.
and so again, as the director had said earlier, I want to be careful comparing apples to apples. When I put up the impervious thing, I was trying to be helpful, but I have to be clear that we're comparing apples to apples. So the zoning code requirement is called lot coverage, and it's only for accessory or principal buildings. So here, the lot coverage limit is just the footprint of the building. It's just a principal building. There are no accessory buildings. So the lot coverage here is just for the footprint of the principal building.
And the terraces, patios, and lawns are not considered?
No, not part of the lot
of the
coverage by
building.
definition,
Okay.
no.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for the staff? Would the applicant like to come up and edify us some more?
Let me pull up here. How would you close it?
Yeah, but the folder should still be open, Patrick. Both folders on the bottom. Here, I got it.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Do you know
evening.
your sister?
Oh, not really. You can help.
Okay, if you just let me know, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Elliot Wixer. I represent Fulton Developers, and I've been sworn in at the last meeting. I'll spare you any Wisconsin songs. I had to
Thank
get
you.
that in there.
I get enough of that from my husband. And he plays the tuba part for it too.
I wasn't, again, Mr. Fell and Mr. Mueller on behalf of Fulton Developers are here, and they certainly know this project like the back of their hand. Some of the questions you raised, I'm going to defer to them, let them answer, but I did want to address just a couple of issues. I was going to be the traffic guy who came up and talked about, try to make it exciting, the traffic study in 30 seconds or less, and I will do that. I don't promise you I'll make it exciting though. But on the lot coverage issue, I think maybe I can be a little instructive in that buildings like this, and I think I mentioned this last time, and certainly there's empirical evidence that we can show you so to make you comfortable with this comment that I'm about to make. As a general rule of thumb, these types of buildings, these types of developments, the multifamily developments, the lot coverages tend to be far in excess of 33%. And Director Fontaine is right. I don't think the setbacks necessarily are instructive on, it doesn't always mean lot coverage will equal 33% if you meet the front yard, side yard. It's just where you're going to put this building. You can't put it over there because you're invading the side yard, or on the other side yard, front yard. But on these type of developments, I think even Mr. Mueller, who's built these types of developments throughout Highland Park, I think he could just tell you, yeah, all of my buildings pretty much exceed lot coverage by just about this amount. They're somewhere just in the 50% range. And I think then you have the impervious surface and the parking spots that I think Mr. Burrup pulled up. Those might be part of the, pervious or impervious, depend on what materials are used. So the shot he brought up before, it probably is way beyond lot coverage is my guess. The red depictions are probably a lot less for lot coverage. And the reason it's red is because maybe there's a big parking lot that's asphalt as opposed to paver. So I think it is instructive, but I think what is more instructive is that there's data out there, and we could show that to you and give you comfort that buildings throughout Highland Park like this, I think, are like this, but in all developments where you want to have multi-development buildings like this, it's just the kind of, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of the way it is for these type of developments. And, I think it's something to look at, but I don't think I'd be too concerned about it, given those facts. And then we talked about height again. I did drive by, gosh, you've done so many buildings, Fulton has, I can't remember which one it is, but it struck me, like on Oakwood, when you drive, you can't even see the top floor because it's so far set back when you drive. You're driving right at the building too. So I think it's really, unlike the other buildings that were up on the screen that we've talked about at the last meeting, 65 feet, 65 feet, 58 feet, 58 feet, 65 feet. None of those are step back. And they're all big and bulky. And on this one, though you have, not as much height as 65 feet, surely. And then you also have the elevation, because the way they measure it from grade, where I don't want to say penalized, it's the code, but the way it will look
will actually be 2 feet lower, we think, than the way, the actual height, just the look of it, right? And that's what zoning codes are about, the way it's gonna look and conform and all of that. So I just wanted to talk about that as well. And in terms of the question that was asked about the people who are living on site, this is, as they say, not Fulton Development's first rodeo, not just in Highland Park, but elsewhere. And this is what they've done in the past. They bought properties where people are living there on the properties, and they've accommodated, in every case, people who are living there. Every situation's unique, so I can't say that, A plus B equals C every time, but I don't think anybody in the city would ever be able to point to an instance where a person living on a property that Fulton Developers has purchased or is under contract to purchase has had any issue with relocation, moving out. They're always very accommodating and work with everybody. I'll let them talk about the public benefit, but just the enhanced affordable is a public benefit. Don't forget the $10,000 donation, and certainly if the milling and paving of the public alleyway is not sufficient, believe me, this developer will work with you to make sure that there's an adequate, or something adequate, or at least even possibly exceeds your expectations in that respect. So I do want to move on. I know hours late, you've heard a lot of this before, and I think the developer from the last meeting, you were very kind to give us a list of things that you wanted to see. I'm glad that the Housing Commission voted in favor, so that's one thing that's off the checklist, hopefully. Commission asked for an updated traffic study. We provided that. We did the updated public benefit that I talked about, but we can talk about that further. Signage complies. We have the one issue with the updated lighting that they'd be asking for some relief on. And then, we did get the bike parking and the forestry issue behind us, hopefully, in the presentation. I think those are minor, small things. So if I can just sort of, because it was raised last time by both the public and the commission, we did go out and hire a KLOA for the traffic study. And I think the city already stole my thunder on what we found, but just so everyone's aware, the kind of major roadways are the Green Bay Road with the, that abuts, if you will, or adjoins with the West Public Alley. The, sorry, I don't want my papers to fall apart here. Then the Walnut Street with the North-South Public Alley, and also the Green Bay Road with the Deerfield Road and Walnut Street intersections, Laurel Avenue and Second Street intersections, and the Walnut Street with the Second Street intersections. Just to summarize what was found is that I think there was the comment that there is minimal impact. Actually, the way the study reads is there's zero impact on any of the roadways. And again, the development meets all the requirements of parking. It actually exceeds them, right, by a few parking spaces. So I don't want to belabor it. I did want everyone in the public to know that the developer takes those comments seriously and wants to make sure that everyone's satisfied that parking and traffic will not be impacted by this development. One of the things that traffic study did not consider is the mitigating factor of how close the Metro is and the station that can be utilized for additional overflow guest parking, if you will, and in addition, the impact on traffic overall, because people will tend to use, those commuters will tend to use the Metro station. So with that, with the updated plans, I'm going to let Mr. Mueller come up and be a little more precise than I am. And thankfully, I did not have to use the pointer. So that's a real plus for me tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome back.
Good evening, Commission members.
Good evening.
I am Mark Mueller, President of Fulton Developers. I was already sworn in last time. And Cal Fell is with us as well. We worked closely on this project for quite some time. I don't want to go over the things that Elliot and Patrick have mentioned, but since last meeting, there were some comments. We updated the traffic study in regards to the public benefit. I wanted to mention that we've done several projects in town, and many of them have had public alleys. We didn't have to repave them because we don't have to repave the roads. We tried to be as careful as possible with construction. If there's any damage, there's going to be a specific patch that can be addressed. But we were trying to have, once the project is finished, to have an alley about in the building that looks brand new, and that's what we were proposing to do that. In addition to that, we could propose to put new curbs and gutters, which right now are not in existence, and that would be a further enhancement of the alley. But we're willing to work with the commission if you feel there's something else that you feel is reasonable. We're willing to work with you in that regards. The bike parking was cited in the garage. We submitted a sign, which wasn't on the prior meeting. We addressed the comments from forestry, public works, engineering department. We located the AC units on the roof, more than 50 feet away from the property line. And even though we are allowed to have a 15% reduction in parking because we're close to public transportation, we are not using that option. And we are in fact providing 3 more parking spaces for guests than what are required. The lot coverage, we would be happy to provide a summary of at least our 6, 7 projects that we've done in the past. And all of them have been very close to 50% in the past. I don't know why there's that requirement. It seems like that requirement applies to single-family homes where you have a backyard and much more green space. We can certainly provide the lot coverage for our 6 or 7 projects, and all of them were between 47 and 54%. Park Sheridan, the walk right across the street, we can provide that for the next meeting. And I think that maybe that's something that might need to change, but we've been doing projects here for more than 20 years, and it's always in that ratio, as far as I know. The foot candles comment, this is just some landscape lighting. We felt it's nice to enhance the building, and it's really minimal, so we're not, you can sort of see on that render, that's the intention, just so it doesn't look dark at night. It's very minimal landscaping lighting like you would see in a house. The current residents, we manage the properties, we've got to know them for a few years. We always work with them. We try to talk to several people in the community that have rental housing, try to find a home for them. We give them plenty of notice. We're not rushing anyone out of their homes, and we always work with them, are super flexible in regards to the terms of the lease. If you need another month, this is something that we've always done in this community to try to work with existing tenants. I'm happy to answer any questions. We've tried to do a project that's thoughtful in the design, try to do a project that's high quality development, and we're trying to meet the standards that we have done on prior projects as well in Highland Park for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Mueller? No? I have one quick question. I know one of the comments that came up last time was that there was a concern that the encircling walls were maybe too high. But I do see that they're kind of far from the sidewalk.
So that, the setback for this zoning is 5 feet. So we could potentially have a building that's 51 feet in height on the 5-foot mark. We have setbacks which are closer to 25 feet. So the walls that we have here are very similar to what we have done at Park Sheridan. Mm-hmm. We see those 2 walls, which we feel is the only way to have first floor units so they can have some safety and some privacy. And the walls, those are much taller in Park Sheridan than the Walton, and there's also landscape screening. So
Yeah.
we feel that it adds a nice character. It brings down the mass of the building from a taller building to a shorter, more human pedestrian scale. We've also had those walls at the Wallbright, right here, and the patios along Oakwood and LaSalle. We have similar landscape walls at One Highland Park. And I think it adds character, and again, it brings down the scale of the building. You're not staring at a wall, it just adds character to the building.
Thank you for addressing that. Any questions from the commission? Okay, are there any comments from the public? All right, come on up.
Just one thing.
Maybe one, oh, yes,
About the
so,
lighting, so, and I looked at Google Street View, there's no street lighting on
Oh,
that section
interesting.
in that area, or in that Walnut Street area that I could see.
okay, so real quick before you start, I wanted to clarify that, Director Fontaine looked at the streetlight situation on Walnut, and currently it appears that we do not have a bunch of streetlights along Walnut Avenue, along Walnut Avenue, correct?
Second Street and then on Walnut, yes.
Okay. All right, so please state your name.
My name is Jana Hill, and I was sworn in.
You were sworn in, okay, so you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. We are here today to provide citizen input. Our neighbors' greatest fear is our voices will be discounted before the words take wing. Our hope is that the commission will give consideration to the concerns raised today. The proposed Walton project should not be approved with the relief requested. Specifically, the height, number of floors, lot coverage, and surrounding wall are inconsistent with the vision and policies of the city's master plan. I feel that this project should be viewed in the context of the Highland Park Master Plan rather than in isolation for very important reasons. Pushing ever-increasing height and bulk to the southern boundary of the district harms the scale and the character of this residential block. According to the Central District Plan, urban design places the greatest intensities at the center, reducing as moving away. The general consensus of the Plan Commission, which is this body that's referenced in that document, is that the current allowable heights were too permissive when at the previous 60-foot height. The policy therein is to lower allowable heights. The RO maximum was adjusted to 51 feet and the lot coverage to 33. Now I'd like for you to take a stroll with me across Laurel Avenue, our 48-foot wide northern border, which I confirmed with city engineer Sam Hertel. The 2 tallest buildings on the block are briefly visible through the spacious green buffers. And that red that we were seeing on that GIS is a beautiful park on the corner, huge, much more than a 10,000 allowance was given to the city for a public benefit. But when we reach the end of the block, where narrow Walnut Street's paved surface is just 24 feet wide, the Walton project looms to the right. The density exceeds the lot coverage max by 47%. That's over the max. The height is 25 feet over the max. The traffic is not visible through a 4-foot solid wall. When you look at that corner and you see where that wall is and you're trying to look down Walnut, this would be an issue. There's no wide green buffers on this property. This project borders the mixed-use RMTH and MUTC zoning on the south. The variances requested make this design intensity ill-suited for the location requested. The public benefit is not proportional to the extensive relief requested. We all here recognize that Fulton Developers has the capability and ample resources to bring a design that's better suited for this location. on the narrowest border of the central business district. We hope you will agree.
Thank you.
I'm Dale Cahodas. I was sworn in the last time.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
First, I want to respond to a remark that was made by a commissioner at the June meeting. That speaker implied that those of us speaking about the planned development of Walton were afraid of change or progress. Rest assured, we are not afraid or objecting to change, but we'd like that change to be considerate of the neighborhood and the neighbors. Since the meeting in June, it appears that Fulton Developers is asking for more variances in addition to the height, coverage, and affordable units. It's now asking for variances on lighting and landscaping. The city has been very generous in granting variances to recent developments, which begs the question, why have codes and guidelines if they are so frequently overridden? Will the parapet that will screen the mechanicals on the roof raise the height even more than requested, the 64 feet? Even though the brick surround has been lowered to 3 feet, it still will create a danger for cars turning right off of 2nd Street, but will also catch debris, which is supposed to be avoided in a building's configuration. There are several factors, the new traffic study, that need further explanation. There was no consideration in that traffic study, as there could not be, of what will happen when Woolbright is fully with the traffic coming from the 2 new driveways. The safety of the well-used crosswalk has not been assured. The corner of Walnut and First Street isn't even mentioned. Several city council members witnessed the significant traffic issues with several of us before Woolbright was even built. Would the city consider a light there? Again, because the traffic study is only a few hours in a day, with several assumptions for other situations, no consideration was made of significant city events or Ravinia nights, which have a big impact on the neighborhood. Was the use of Walnut as a throughway for emergency vehicles even accounted for? Lastly, according to the diagrams in the study, there will be no parking on 2nd Street north of Walton. I'm not sure that's accurate, but that's what it appeared in the diagrams. I'd like to direct you to page 65 of your agenda, the design review section, C1. Building design shall be harmonious with the adjacent buildings. I invite you to drive down the subject block of 2nd Street and consider whether it is harmonious and if it satisfies the design review standards set forth in Chapter 176 of the code.
Thank you.
My name is Beth Russell. I live at 1633 2nd Street in the Arbors condo building, directly across the street from the proposed project.
Have you been sworn in previously?
Pardon me?
Have you been sworn in previously?
Not in this session, no, in 2023.
No, for this particular project. So can I ask you to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
The height of the Walton building will be massive and overshadow the narrow residential 2nd Street with its units, tall ceilings, and 5 stories. With both Woolbright and the Walton projects, Mr. Mueller tried to justify the top floor as a setback, but 64 feet will still be too high. The 4-story Woolbright with its top floor setback is still now taller than our Arbor's 5-story building. The Woolbright has 23 units and the Walton has proposed 19. That adds more than 42 residents more and most likely adding about 80 personal vehicles to this small intersection and area. Speaking of cars, Second Street has parking only on one side. The Walton driveway will limit street parking. My unit views Second Street, and Second Street curb spaces are occupied daily by physical therapists, visiting nurses, etc., and service people who handle the elderly in the senior building on Walnut, and also visitors who go to the retirement community center behind the proposed project. Also, residents from the senior building park on Second Street, as do visitors from the Sunrise Retirement Community. Neither building, those buildings I just mentioned, have guest parking. The commission members probably know Mr. Muller well with his projects and have created many residents that bring in property taxes to Highland Park. The commission does not know we owners of the area on Second Street. We and the surrounding properties, we've been paying property taxes for many years, and we request consideration of our concerns of this project. I won't repeat what's been expressed, but we understand progress. But I doubt that anyone here would want this building built across the street from their own home. Please do not approve a 5-story building at 64 feet. Please reduce it to 4 stories. It will still be taller than our 4-story building, similar to the Wallbright. Our location will be more congested with more than 40 new cars, combined residents with 40 more combined residents. Wallbright is still under construction. Traffic study can't even tell you how congested it will be right now. These structures are not for the benefit of the local public, but they're for personal financial gain. Please consider current Highland Park owners' requests. Please do not approve the project at 5 stories. Please lower the structure by 1 story and consider that our concerns and not just Mr. Muller's requests for variances. We asked a neighbor to join us tonight, and he said, no, I've learned from the Wallbright project, the voices of the local owners don't count. I hope this isn't true this time. Please hear us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I have not been sworn in.
Oh, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll need you to say your name and spell your last name for a minute taker.
Sure. I'm Kathleen with a K. Thisson, T as in Tom, Hiss, S as in Sam, EN as in Nancy. I live at 1633 Second Street. I have owned my 3-bedroom unit since 2018. And I am a frequent pedestrian, and I have also been a victim of a traffic accident in the adjacent Second Street intersection, Laurel and Second. I admire all of the commentary of the people that live in my building. I'm not going to be as eloquent as them. I'm late to the game on this. I just want to talk about this being a very human situation. I've been walking my now deceased, but until recently very lively golden retriever for the past 7.5 years, over and over in this neighborhood. This neighborhood that this building proposed abuts a beautiful, grand, more than 5-story senior center, Sunrise, that has many, many people coming to visit and parking on Second Street, which is far behind that building, which would be in front of this new proposed building. A lot of elderly and senior citizens live in all of the buildings that surround this building here. And I, walking my dog, was hit by someone who did not stop at the stop sign. We only have one stop sign. That is the stop sign that is at the end of Second Street when it ends completely to Walnut. So if you're walking from the Pancake House or you're walking from the theater, you end at the stop sign. I believe we need another stop sign coming from Green Bay. People go over Green Bay, where the Catholic Church is, quite fast, and they start rolling down with no stop sign at the Wallbright, which in this traffic study has not even been accounted for all the inhabitants that are hopefully gonna live there. for you guys, but they don't yet. So all that traffic needs to be considered, in my humble opinion. We also need a stop sign coming from the people racing away in their cars when they come back from downtown to the metro station. I see them every day. I know some of the people. I know the people who get off and have pet my dog for years. There is a lot of foot traffic, and we need at least 3 stop signs. We need a speed study for the, I got hit and my car was T-boned to the almost $17,000 worth of damage, and I was taken by ambulance to Highland Park Hospital because the person did not stop. People roll through Laurel and Second. They roll. They don't. I'm there so often, and I feel like I want to get one of those stop signs that the school people do, because nobody does. So what can we do to make it safe for this elderly population that walks and is in their wheelchairs being pushed all the time here, when we are going to be adding so many additional people, already with the Wallbright, and now proposed to squeeze more higher and denser into this corner across the street of what is called kind of I forget the name of the director, but It's a Wonderful Life. We're called the Character Street because of the way that Second Street looks. And this is out of character. So I would like consideration for the people who live there, the age of which the people live there, and the fact that there needs to be constraints and, some real valves and levers to make sure that the traffic agrees to the right speed, but also adheres to the volume of pedestrians and pets.
Thank you. Your time is past. Thank you. Anybody else from the public need to speak? No. All right. So the commission needs to decide where we're at. Are we okay with granting relief for these items? Are they asking for relief for the number of stories in the building? Is that one of, I don't
Yes.
think.
Height
yes.
and story.
And stories, okay. Well, stories isn't on there.
Is it a story as well, Patrick?
I think I may have left that off on there. Hold on.
Yeah, it's maximum 4.
Max 4, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. So it is, a story and height.
Well, I'd like to see some of the other lot coverage numbers if we can get them. We do hear you. But a lot of this horse maybe has left the barn. I don't. I'm not sure how we can ask. Well, let me put it this way, however, before I decide about the relief, which I think is maybe, it looks commensurate with what's been going on recently in the area, not perhaps what was going on 20 years ago. However, I reiterate my concern from the previous meeting that this is still a major amount of relief and needs a major amount of public benefit, and it is not there. I would urge you to, the addition of the alley, I think we've already set the precedent that it's, if it's behind your own building, that's for the benefit of your residents. So that's not gonna cut it. I'm still waiting for we have to hear from the Housing Commission on the affordable units and what their perhaps questions were about them. At any rate, I don't know, I don't have a trick bag full of public benefits, right? I think that you gotta work that out with the staff and the city, but it's gotta be more. And I think it's gotta be a lot more.
I mean, I agree. I think repaving the alley just gets it back to where it was, adding curbs and such, you know, maybe that's a help. The permeable pavers is a help. I get where the residents are coming from, but there's already 5 tall buildings on that block and they all live in them. So, I have a hard time saying no to the height, request. I agree, I feel bad also, the people all through town are not driving properly. I mean, I see people rolling through stop signs, I live on St. John's, and they're rolling through the stop signs that come up to St. John's, and St. John's is a busy street, and I'm like, what are you doing? I myself have had to call in a few cars, and, because they almost hit me. So, I think that's a citywide problem. Could we, we've seen public benefits given, or we see offered as a public benefit, like stoplight with a crossing light, or more stop signs. I don't know, traffic would have to weigh in on whether we can have more stop signs in town along Walnut Street, at Second and, or, I think someone mentioned a light at, First Street and Walnut. I don't know if that is too much, but maybe our traffic department needs to take a look at some traffic controls that could be used or would be needed. And then if those were paid for by the applicant, maybe that's a public benefit. I don't have a big problem with the excess lighting. I think they need to make sure they're looking at the bug requirements, because some of those were uplit along the wall. Or maybe they get turned out after a certain period of time, I don't know. I don't have a problem with the granting relief for the plant buffer zone along the alley and the parking area. Yeah. So, and we still have to wait and see where Housing Commission comes back. So I guess at this point, we're probably looking to continue the meeting to, what date would that be, the 19th of August?
That's right. The next meeting is, the next regular meeting is Tuesday, August 19th.
If there's any way to make the building shorter, that would be awesome. It's not out of context for the rest of the neighborhood. I mean, there's no more single-family homes in that neighborhood. And so I don't feel it's out of context. It is adjacent to downtown. And that's what downtown looks like now. I mean, I do think that even at 64 feet, we are well shorter than what's happening in places like Arlington Heights and Evanston. And if you go to Arlington Heights, those buildings are absolutely huge. They're massive. So we are, I think, controlling that to some extent here. So, are there any more comments by the commission?
No, I agree with the public benefit. I don't have an answer, but definitely need to see more for the relief being requested. From my design perspective, I don't really have a lot of comment. I think it looks beautiful on a page, but understand where the residents are coming from. Agree with you, and people dropping Highland Park. I want to walk across Green Bay with a brick.
Not the flag?
No, a brick. That'll get them slow down. But, yeah, that's all I have to say.
The only, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The only other thing I was gonna add, I totally understand the resident concerns about the height, but it's height like that allows us to have storefronts that are occupied and good transit service and tax revenue, like all the things that we really love about Highland Park are facilitated by having at least some density near downtown, I think. And this is a building that other communities would kill to have near their downtown. And so I get it, but I also think there's a balancing act we need to do with what the residents' concerns are and how we can get development near downtown. So I like this building. I think they've been really receptive to what we've asked for so far. I personally would love to see a green alley behind this building with permeable pavers, but I think if there's other public benefits that come to mind, those should also be on the table. So,
Yeah. Any more comments over here? All right, so I guess we're looking for, I don't think we're ready for findings of fact yet, so I guess we're looking for a continuance to a date certain.
Yeah, to the Tuesday, August 19th would be
Okay.
the next regular meeting.
Do we want to ask if the applicant is okay with that?
Oh, sure.
I will just,
Will the applicant be able to be ready by the 19th of August?
It's going to be a sad day, August 19th. I'm taking my oldest daughter to college. So I wouldn't be able to make it that day.
Okay.
I don't know if it's possible I mean, we can bring information in regards to the lot coverage from all the projects we've done. We can bring as much information about any other project that we can get information about. And in regards to the public benefit, we're willing to do more with just a bit of a standstill. We don't want to come here next meeting and offer 2 or 3 more things. I think that there's some things maybe were overlooked, which is affordable housing component. That we are doing units that are 1,400 square feet instead of 950 square feet.
Right, they're bigger units.
I know that's not typically done, but there's many more things we're doing. We're doing the finishes of the affordable units comparable to market rate units.
I think isn't that required though?
No, not the interior finishes.
Okay.
The exterior of the units needs to be comparable.
Yes.
We're also doing the interior floors, countertops. There's many more things we're doing. So I don't know if we should have a conversation with staff about this. There were some things mentioned about traffic that we're willing to look at enhancements.
Okay.
But I don't want for us to keep on adding more proposals and those are not sufficient, so.
No, I understand, and I understand, we want to get moving on things. Would somebody from your group be able to be here on the 19th to present those things if it wasn't you?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we need to make a decision at the time,
So the next regular commission meetings are August 19th, and then after that, September 2nd, and then September 16th. And, it's up to the applicant as for August 19th. If they can come to that meeting, that meeting is available for them to continue to. If it's not, then this can also go to the September 2nd meeting.
so I think September 2nd.
That's fine with me. Does that work, if that works for you?
It really puts us in a situation where we still need to go to city council, then work on building permits. We had a meeting June 6th. So it just starts delaying the process to the point that if we cannot submit building permits by the end of the year, then we cannot break ground in March, which is our goal. So it's, but.
Well, that's helpful for us to know that your goal is to break ground in March. Carl, would that if we said September 2nd, that gives your department enough time to come up with, see if you can find.
Guidance on the public
guidance on public benefit, talk to the traffic and see if like any of those options will be available and come up with the lot coverage for the other buildings. Now, we understand your buildings run around 50%, but I want to know what the lot coverage is for the nearby buildings so that we're kind of comparing apples to apples, you know, I want to know what the other buildings on the street are for their lot coverage.
Right, yeah, right. I mean, staff would be ready to provide that by August 19th, but September 2nd would be reasonable as well.
What was it?
We don't want to keep moving the goalposts.
No, I don't, I agree. You know, I'd like to have the meeting on the 19th to, you know, present all this and discuss, and, you know, by then we'll have Housing Commission's comments on everything as well.
I think I would prefer, I think 2 weeks wouldn't really change between August 19th and September 2nd. We're talking 2 weeks.
Right.
So I think I'd rather, if possible, to keep it that day.
The 19th or the 2nd?
The 2nd.
The 2nd, let's do it the 2nd then.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Chair. Does Director Fontaine have a
I just want
comment?
to remind everyone, you have to formally continue it to that day.
Yes.
well, I was just about to move.
I was just about to motion that we do that.
That we continue this public hearing to our regular September 2nd meeting.
Do I get a second? And we have a second by Commissioner Henry.
Voice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right, this meeting, or this issue has been continued till September 2nd.
Please know that your notice is actual. There'll be no new notice for this continued public hearing, September 2nd in this room, City Hall at 7 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you. And thank you, citizens, for participating.
Yeah, and sticking around.
Yeah.
Till the bitter end.
We're not at the bitter end,
Well,
we're getting there.
They are.
There, yeah. Okay. The next item of business is is there an administrative design review update from the department?
No.
No. Easy. Our next meeting is, I believe it's a special meeting on July 29th, 2025. It's a special meeting at the Marine, the former HP Country Club, 1201 Park Avenue West in Highland Park. Is there anything you want to comment on about that?
Well, just be the one item that was continued to that date, the 1700 Old Deerfield Road site for the 240 townhome unit development.
Okay.
And I'm looking to have that packet posted early because I will be out all next week. So you're going to have a full week to look at this packet.
Okay.
That would be delightful.
I can't wait.
Did they make any updates or is it more of the same?
No, we can't talk about it outside the public hearing, I'm sorry.
You'll have to wait.
The baby breath.
Do we have any case briefings to cover?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. City Council met last night. We finished about this time as well. And there are several things that they considered that came from the board. One of which was 711 Lincoln Avenue West. The plat of subdivision for the 9-lot subdivision that was to replace the Lincoln School at that property, and that was approved, as well as with the subdividers agreement. So just a note, the sidewalk along Green Bay Road and Oakwood, that missing piece of sidewalk, is front-loaded in this project for the subdividers agreement. So that was negotiated and included in that. So that will be addressed early on. Otherwise, they're probably going to do a staggered development. It looks like 4 units up front and then the rest thereafter. So we'll stay tuned on that. Special use permit for towing and vehicle storage. You may recall, we did a section 405, we referred to it as an interpretation of uses. There was a recommendation from this body to council, and the council agreed that this could be a conditional use as an open lot storage, AKA towing and vehicle storage, and so that was approved unanimously as well. And then, we had 1651 Richfield Avenue. That was the amendment to the plan development and special use permit, and that was approved 7-0 as well. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Any business from the public? We have no public left.
So you have a lot of items to the council, no doubt.
Okay.
He's not public.
Oh.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
There were no names and no names.